Hey, this is Gene. I said if I got more than 100 views, I would talk a little bit more about Manchester United. I've got over 350, which I guess because I said something about the fans that somehow it got some sort of attraction, which is not a whole lot but it's nice that a few people watch it. So I'm going to talk about what's happened. I just heard at the press conference that we're probably not going to have Rashford tomorrow, so I'll talk about that. And then I'll talk about what I think the starting 11 should be and what I think the final score will be without Rashford. I'm not really that concerned about him, to be honest, at this point. He played the last two games. We scored no goals. So he did play. It's some instances in those games, he got himself in good positions, but he didn't do what he should have done. So I'll go ahead and do that. Well, it looks pretty bad like that. It's all that sweating I do. You might hear the rain going on right here. I don't know if I can actually show it to you. I don't think I can. I'll just leave it the way it is. But you'll hear it. We've had a lot of rain here the last 2 days in Alabama, which is good. We've needed it. But anyway, just to give me I'm just going to give you my first or my impression of how the sale is going. I heard pretty good, unbiased opinions on both sides. Personally, if it was possible, I would like that Manchester United be owned by Englishmen or British at least. But that person needs to have a lot of money in order for Manchester United to compete with City or Chelsea or Newcastle or whoever who's going to come in. Because clearly the game is buying these clubs has become like a toy for a lot of the super wealthy. And once they get that stuff, they want to win. And they go out and buy crazy shit. You saw what happened to Chelsea. They spent like $500 million or more this year. And maybe in a couple years they might be better again. Chelsea was always a good game, always a good team. Since the '90s on, always gave us a tough time at home. It was weird. We would go down there and beat them, and they come to Old Trafford and beat us, or get a draw or something. And I know I don't have any love for Chelsea. The fact that we beat them in the European Championship was good. And that was a good Chelsea team. They were very similar to Arsenal was in the '90s. That was our rival, and then Chelsea came along, and for a while they were our rival. And now I don't know what a rival is anymore. We're not where we were. Okay, we're not. For like 30 years, we are 25 years, we were first or second. Every now and then we get third, but it was always first or second. So, and even since 2013, I think we finished second 3 times. So, as bad as it's been, we have finished second, although it was a long way down from City or Liverpool. So personally, I don't really care. I understand those who have an issue with Qatari or it's more, for me, it's more personal with that. I don't think that that a place or a state should own a club. I could go down the road and maybe I'll do another video about the changes they've made in the Premiership and how it used to be you had to have a certain amount of players that are British to play in the team, especially in the Champions League. You had to have it. And I really think that's better. What I don't like to see is that a lot of the English players and Welsh players and stuff they're playing really well in the Championship. Now and not, they might come up to the Premiership and they do well, but it's rare that you see an English player do well in the Premiership from the start. They may go overseas and come back like Jadon Sancho did. Or this is what happens. And United is one of the biggest teams that do this. We go out and buy talent amount so much money to go and get these types of talents is because we think that they're the finished article, and sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, and we don't give young English players a chance to get better. But I'll talk about that if I still get more traction. I'll talk about that because I go in some places that might be uncomfortable for some people, because I believe that uh, I think Manchester United should have a lot of English players on it. Um, it should. Teams like that, Everton, Arsenal, uh, Liverpool, they should have dominant, which should be English-born players. I don't care what color they look like. I'm just saying, but they need to be native English people. So at this point, it looks like that Ratcliffe is the preferred buyer. Um, I don't like it because it seems like the Glazers are going to be around, and for a long time, I've defended the Glazers. I mean, they run one of the teams I watch here, Tampa. That's where I grew up, and they won a couple Super Bowls with them. But the fact how they use the finance and how they use Manchester United to put all the debt on, from a business perspective, they should not be around the club. Um, we spent enough money, and they've given us enough money that we should be we should be one of the best teams in the world. But whoever bought these players didn't get the right players, and we should have got younger. You know, right now our team is still pretty old, and I don't like that. I don't like we have Casemiro and all that stuff in the midfield, or Ericsson. These players are too old, really. I think about the 1992 teams, or 94, 95, 96, and how young we were. I don't know. But again, that's another video. So I don't really care. You know, it's not really going to be up to the fans as much as we want it to have. We want to get the most money so we get the players we want. But I don't want Manchester United to look like PSG. I just don't want to have Messi on one side, Mbappe on the other side, Haaland up front. This is not FIFA. You know, this is not like some sort of online game, and that's exactly what younger generations think it should be. And I don't like that. I like grown talent coming through, become a hero or a legend of the club. That's what I like seeing. Anyway, so at this point, I'm 50-50 either way. But if the idea is that they're not going to get the Glazers out, then I'll probably go with the Qatari, because in the short term, I think that's probably the better thing. They'll get rid of the debt. We'll be able to upgrade or get a new stadium. As much as I love Old Trafford, I love going there, but it has issues. You know, there's a lot of stadium in the United States that have issues. And it's hard to go back and try to rebuild it or without just destroying it and starting it from ground level. It's cheaper to do that than to try to fix it of the existing structure. It would kill me if they did that, but if they do it the right way, like they did with Tottenham, if they do it at the same point, it still should look like Old Trafford. But anyway, so I'm 50-50. I'll say it's only two people that are going to be doing it. I'm going to go with Qatar at this point. As much as I don't like what they bring, I'm an older man. I do want to see us to be challenging on all things, but I don't want to be like City, because what happens if City wins the treble, and then all of a sudden they get hit with all these accusations? What happens then? Do they return that, or they still get it? It's like, I don't know. I don't want. There's a reason why Manchester United is just not loved in England. It's worldwide. But anyway, now let's talk about the press conference. I haven't watched it yet, but I did get the stuff that Rashford is probably going to be out tomorrow. Personally, I don't have an issue with that. As I said at the beginning of this video, he did look okay at certain points in those two games, but he's like going back to where he was before. He head down, not passing. I was looking at stuff for 3 or 4 years ago where he was passing it around. Um, with him and when Martial was on the field and all that stuff, they had like this thing where they would actually pass to each other. Um, anyway, so I don't think we're going to really miss him that much. Obviously, if it's a close game and we need a goal, I mean, he's going to be valuable, but I'd rather him not hurt himself for the rest of the season. And I want to be available for the FA Cup final because we need him against City. City will play a high line, and we need Rashford for that. So, my preferred starting 11 will be obviously David De Gea. There's nothing you can do about him, regardless of his mistakes he's made. There's nobody behind him, so we got to get behind that player, and he's going to be the starting player, goalie. And of course, I want Wan-Bissaka. I think he's been a revelation, so I want him there. The question is, they say Varane is back. What does that mean? If he's ready to go 90 minutes in a Premiership team, a game, if he's back, I'm assuming he's going to come in and he'll be there with Lindelof, and you put Shaw back to where his normal position is. And that should help us a little bit on that side. My changes is in the midfield and up front, of course, if with Rashford not playing. I don't want Eriksen to start this game. Although we're going to have a lot of possessions in this game, I want Sabitzer in there with Casemiro and Bruno. Put Bruno in the number 10 position and let Sabitzer do a box-to-box type of thing. He has a ability to score, and we get him in good positions. I think he will score. He actually puts the thing about Sabitzer. He puts the ball on target, which is very necessary because we have that problem that we don't do that very well. So that's what I would have, the normal 4-3-2-1 type of thing. Anyway, so up front, this also depends whether or not Martial's ready. I'm not really sure I want to pay him anyway, but I think unless I put Sabitzer to play a false nine, I'll put Martial up front with Anthony or Garnacho. Now, again, with Garnacho, it's whether or not he is fully fit. I could possibly start Jadon Sancho out there, and at 30 minutes left, you bring in Garnacho. The question is, which player is better off the bench? And right now, the best player that comes off the bench is Garnacho. But is he better as a starter? I mean, yeah, he played the entire game against West Ham in the Cup, scored the goal at the end. So I think that he'll probably start Garnacho. And he almost has to because these other players are not doing what they're supposed to do. So we'll see. I'm going to say Garnacho, Martial, and Anthony. If that doesn't happen, I mean, personally, I would like to see Sabitzer play as like a false nine in that position because Martial hasn't really shown me enough. And without Rashford in there, he loses some of his effectiveness. They have a telepathic thing that they have. He's a great player, technically, and all that stuff, and it's disgusting to see that he is not where he should be. But it is what it is. So I'll stick with that, and I think we're going to win the game 3-1. Hopefully they don't score first, but it could happen, and then we'll come back. We have to start scoring. And that's the biggest important thing. Great if we get a clean sheet and we get 3 goals. That would be good too. But we can't this can't be Aston Villa, where we played really good, had all these chances, finally got a goal that shouldn't have went in. I mean, if the Bruno goal that was deflected in, great that it went in. Of course, it would have been another game we would have scored. We just got to score and get that mindset. So we get that game, get that 3 points out of the way. We go to Bournemouth, knowing we can score, and just somehow get a win there. And then it's pretty much, we're there. Brighton lost, so their ability to get in the top 4 is very, very low. This is really between us and Liverpool and who gets the most points. If we get the 9 points, we're through, regardless what Liverpool does. And I still said that, even though Leicester lost, when I said I think that they might take some points from Liverpool, they lost 5-3. I still think they have the ability at home to save the season so they don't get relegated, that they can get something from Liverpool on Monday. So if we win on Saturday, we're up by 4 points, same amount of games, and if somehow they can stop them from scoring or somehow beat Liverpool, that'll be 4 games with 3 games left. So we've been in good position, especially if we go out and beat Bournemouth. So at that point, again, Brighton could win the rest of their games, but they still have Newcastle and they still have Arsenal. And Arsenal is going to take it to the last game. They were after the first 10 minutes of that game against Newcastle, they were very good. And it's unfortunate that they probably lost the league on those 3 games where they drew when they were up 2-0 in all the games. And then they went down against Southampton and came back and almost won that game. So it's unfortunate for them because this is their year. I don't think they're going to be challenging for anything unless something tragically happens to Man City. Now, if something happens and they get docked 10, 15 points or whatever because of these things, they may not win next year. But Liverpool will be back. You expect Chelsea will be back. Tottenham, who knows? I shouldn't say anything because they cost us 2 points. But anyway, that's basically my thing. I said 3-1. I would rather be 3-0. All the vitriol that David is getting now because what happened to him. And I said on this for years, I used to talk about this stuff, and I had issues with him for a long time. For times I thought Rojo was better than him. Again, they're talking about it right now online or on Twitter or whatever, and I'm like, the thing is that most Premiership goalkeepers are good. Our problem is like, do you want this one? Do you want this guy? Do you want this guy? And I'm like, okay, he plays in the Premiership for a top 4, top 6 team. He probably would play. He might go to places like Bayern Munich or something like that if he was ever left, or who knows? Maybe he's not at the top when it comes to goalkeepers anymore. The issue with him is that the coach wants him to play a certain way. This is different from any other coach he's had before at Manchester United, and he has some weaknesses in that area. Although he's had some improvements in those areas, but he's just not at the level that Ten Hag wants him to be. But that's not the issue. We're not scoring. I'm thinking about years ago that we would end up losing. We end up giving up a goal or two, and we come back and get 4 or 5. This team does not score, and that's the issue. And that permeates through the team. The pressure permeates through the team, so everybody starts looking like Harry Maguire out there. They don't feel good on the ball. So, and we do it the other way. We're not good in front of a goal. We do everything to that point. You look at Bruno's stats. He puts people in positions to score, and he's got very, very few assists. The same thing if Kevin De Bruyne used to play for us, he'd have the same issue. He might score more goals because he's better probably in open field of shooting the ball than Bruno is. But he would have the same issue. If Bruno was playing at City, good Lord, he'd have the same statistics that De Bruyne has. And I like David De Bruyne because he's a great player. Probably the reason why they've been so good for many years. But he has the issue as well, and I don't want to say anything. I don't want to jinx anything. But he was on a good team with Belgium, never did anything. They have everything's right in front of them. There's no excuse for City not to win everything. They have, like we used to be in the 90s. In the 90s, we had 2 teams basically that could have finished in the top 4, both of them. You could have just we had 4 strikers in '99. 2 of those could have been number 1. We had Cole and York, and then we had Sherman and Solskjaer. And our backups could have played for anybody else in the league other than maybe Arsenal, and they both would have been in the top four. This is how City is right now. They have every player, they have a backup that's almost as good as the person that's on the field. And sometimes the one on the bench is better. It's just whatever Pep wants them to do based on the game that they're on. And that's what we have to do as well with Eriksen and Sabitzer. Even though we're at home, and I think that most times if we're at home, Eriksen should start, I just don't think he's fully back yet. And if we need something with more creativity, you could bring him in later in the game so he can open up their defense. I think in the beginning of the game, I think you have to have that pressing, and you have to have that type of player that Sabitzer is. And these 4 games in the cup final, which would be 5, should solidify whether he's going to be here next year or not. I mean, I just saw online that we should not side him, and I'm like, okay, for 20 million, even if he's not good enough to start every game, he's a good backup. Now the question is he okay with that? Did he have problems at Bayern Munich because he didn't get to play? I mean, I think that he's a good player. I think he's better than almost everybody else in the midfield. And but the thing is, he's not a guy that's going to go a 4 out of a 10 performance. He's 6'6" or 7'7". That's how he is. He's up. He's very consistent, and I like that from him. Now maybe he's not played as much, so I get that. And he's not as smart or is not as fast as I would like him to be in the midfield, but he's faster than Eriksen. And I think he knows how to intercept the ball a little bit better. And, it's just, I like Eriksen. I like the whole story. I love everything about him. And against most teams, if we're playing teams that, that can't hold on the ball, you play them. If you're home, maybe you play them. But we need a fighter in the midfield, and we need somebody who's going to be, all of a sudden, like Scholes come from deep to get into the box and get on goal. And I think Sabitzer does it a hell of a lot better than Eriksen. And as great as Eriksen is, with the ball at his feet, there's 2 or 3 times this year, especially in very important situations, where the ball came to him, great pass, and he's 18 yards out, and he misses the entire goal. There's no excuse for that because this guy can ping a ball anywhere. And it happened twice, I think, against West Ham and also against Brighton. So that's where we're at. So I'm talking way too much. But please like this or share it. And I appreciate those who actually watch my other video. It's doubtful. I think that this will get that same amount of views. I usually get like 50. So, but maybe if I put the right thing in the title, I'll get people to come and look at it. I would love to get to 1,000 subscribers so I can do more things, like do a live thing or something like that, and we can talk about Manchester United. I mean, all these other great platforms are out there. I watch them both. I watch United Stand, as much as I have problems with Mark Dolbridge on some of his ideas. And also I watch United People TV with Sam. Good dude. Sounds like a good dude. He's a guy that's kind of like talking about the ownership stuff. I understand what he's saying with that. He's 50-50 as well. Even though all the cons are really only on one side. The only really bad thing about the Qatari thing is what it really means. The soul of the club. Are we going to be soul? Are we going to sell our soul just like City did, what Newcastle's done? He called Chelsea. I don't think Chelsea really sold their whole soul. I think they really didn't really have one per se. And I could talk about that situation as well. I mean, everybody loved Roman until no one loved him anymore. It's kind of like Trump, United States. Everybody loved Trump until he ran, and then he was this pariah. When everybody I knew in the black community loved the man. Anyway, then that's the other issues on my channel that I don't want to get on here. So, but just give me anything you have in comments. Tell me what you think your starting 11 will be, and what do you think the final score will be. The question is, it just has to be a win. I don't give a shit. I mean, I don't want us to score 9 goals and just blow a rod. I don't want to do shit like that. I mean, that's what happened to Liverpool. They got 7 against us, And what they did, lost 3 of the last 4 games after that. We got out there and play a professional game, score a couple goals early, and get people off the bench and get a 3rd goal, and then shut up shop and just relax until they go to Bournemouth during the week. All right, we'll talk to you guys later, and I'll talk to you later like that. Bye.